A month ago, we told you something rather extraordinary. You'll soon be able to build a 70 square metre granny flat in your garden. No building consent, no bureaucrats, just you, a wheelbarrow, and the raw determination of someone who watched a few too many grand designs. And then, bam, the phone rang, emails, direct messages, comments. Absolute carnage. You had questions, lots of them, clever ones. So we've brought back the man with the answers. A great friend of mine, legal expert, best-selling author and ex-president of the Auckland Property Investors Association, Dave Whitburn. He's back, he's ready, and today he's tackling your granny flat questions. One by one.
Financial freedom faster. Financial freedom faster.
Now, if you prefer making money instead of watching your neighbours get rich while you refresh Trade Me listings in despair, hit that subscribe button because the numbers are in. More Kiwis are getting their real estate smarts from this show than any other channel in 2025, and frankly, that's exactly how it should be. Dave Whitburn, here are the questions.
Thanks, Craig.
So here we go. First of all, let's start on the topic that we did last month.
Yes.
In a nutshell, what's happening with granny flats?
What's happening with granny flats, Craig, is really, really exciting. We've had the first bill now passed just a couple of weeks ago, and this bill exempts granny flats of up to 70 square metres from needing a building consent if the works are carried out by a licensed building practitioner, a carpenter, and all authorised building professionals. It must meet the requirements of the New Zealand Building Code, and a project information memorandum needs to get submitted to council so they can do some basic checks.
So how does this differ from a minor dwelling?
Sure, a minor dwelling is allowed by councils or territorial authorities, and they have different rules for it. Some of them don't allow them. Some of them have them in size for 65 square metres, 60 square metres, 30 square metres, 90 square metres. So this makes one set of rules for them all. In those minor dwellings, you'd need to get a building consent if it was above 30 square metres. So granny flat and minor dwelling are typically used interchangeably. But in Auckland Council, you can only do them in the residential zones. You can only do them in one zone, the single housing zone. So in Auckland, you're able to do them in other zones now with this, and you don't need to get a building consent, which you would on the minor dwelling.
And you started getting your fortune putting a minor dwelling on the back of a place in West Auckland, 25, 26 years ago. So you really are someone that can answer these questions.
I've built over 300 of these,
yes,
Craig.
So,
absolutely.
So this is from FATS7.
Hi, Fat7.
Okay. Kitchen and plumbing drainage conundrum and a resource consent district plan and financial contribution plus no ECD.
Hey, great question. Yes, if you can do these, you can put in a kitchen, you can put in a toilet, so that means you're able to have cooking facilities and plumb it there. However, we're going to have to pay some contributions. There'll be a contribution, probably discounted there, depends on the council or territorial authority that you're in. So the council is going to get their pound of flesh. How will they know this? Because you're going to have to submit a project information memorandum or PIM. So you can do them, and that's a good thing.
Okay. Anonymous K4M writes, you guys should talk about the fish hooks to the so-called gold mine. Connecting pipes is one of them in Auckland.
Yep. Great point, Anonymous. There is an issue with this as well. Sometimes we've got to be a bit careful there. The reason we submit the project information memorandum, that's a fish hook, is that then councils get to check that. Why? There are some areas that have floodplains. Sometimes we know after the devastating January 2023 floods and Cyclone Gabrielle that some people have had their houses flooded and inundated, and not just a little bit, a lot. And some people will make mistakes and would put them in there if they weren't paying attention because they don't know what a floodplain is. So that one's a good check. Some people don't know where their boundary is. They think it's where the fence is. So, and you can build right up to that. Well, sometimes the fence is a metre into your neighbour's land, and I've seen people build in their neighbour's land. It's pretty stupid, but it happens. So the project information memorandum request is to flush these things out. The other fish hook is that when you're going to be doing it, putting in kitchens, putting in bath things, they're going to trigger the development contributions, the infrastructure growth charge, or financial contributions that some councils call them. So those are some of the fish hooks there. You're still going to need to actually spend a little bit of money to know what you're drawing. You're probably going to have to speak to an architect. Some builders will have them in-house. Part of the fees, you may well need to get a survey. Sometimes you're going to need to get geotechnical reports. So there's still going to be some fees paid. The biggest fish of course, is going to be paying these development contributions, financial contributions. Quite often they're going to be half rated.
Okay, so just following on from what you said,
Sure.
environomics rights, what's the setback from the neighbour's boundary for adding a minor dwelling? I'm sure they mean granny flat.
The granny flat, minor dwelling, let's find they're interchangeable, but Chris Pink, hard-working minister that he is, it calls them granny flats, so we'll use that one there to answer environomics question. The setback's going to be what is the actual council district planning rule in the area. Quite often it's only a metre, but some of them will have a slightly bigger setback than that and have a couple of metres.
Okay, Fazio writes, will the height against boundary setback still apply?
Yes, those council operative district planning rules will apply. They're not trying to change the district planning rules. So that's it. That's to flush people out from building something that's like 3 stories high that causes epic shading on your neighbour there. So they're going to be stopping doing that. So those height in relation to boundary rules are important. You're not going to be able to build right on the boundary.
Now, Sam writes, for those who can financially, why not allow 2 or 3 story units with a 70 square metre maximum footprint? It's a better use of land. Thoughts?
It is a better use of land. Absolutely. Well done, Sam, on making this really, really valid point. However, you can do that. You just have to pay for a building consent. So that's not actually going to cost you that much. So in some areas with an intensive zoning, yeah, go ahead and do it. But on 70 square metres, if that's all your footprint is, it's going to be pretty small by the time you put in a stairwell if you're going to go to 2 and 3 stories.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely right. He goes on here, and I think it's part of the question about the three levels. But
Yes.
the potential to achieve 210 square metres is there. But, I think you've covered it off. Let's say 140.
Exactly.
Okay?
They're only talking about 1 per site. So that's the catch. And, at that level, and with some of these ones in some really good areas in central Christchurch, central Auckland, things like that, maybe it's a very good point. You just have to pay for a building consent for it. Sometimes you're not going to use these rules because you're actually better not to. You're better to just get a building consent and go build that 210 square metres. You've got to draw the line somewhere.
All right, Jerry Tran, 5487 writes, in fact, Jerry's a bit of fan of yours, isn't he?
Jerry's done quite a few comments there. I'd love to meet you sometime, Jerry, but I want to...
It's about behind an alley somewhere with a baseball bat?
Not my style there. A couple of things there. I appreciate some of the things we haven't gone into depth for him.
Let's just say that I don't think Jerry's a fan of yours.
I concede that.
He's a bit of a hater. But this is not a hater. Start's not great, though. This will not end well.
I don't take it personally there. I appreciate you.
Hang on, I haven't finished yet. This is kind of misleading. He's not the happiest camper.
Okay.
People get into trouble one way or the other. You will need a council permit. You do need the bathroom, toilet and kitchen at least to complete as a small home. You do need the resource consent, architect and builder to sign off the job as well. But you've just said they're not. So would you like to look at the camera and tell Jerry's talking rubbish?
Jerry, I appreciate your question. We've now had the bill having its first reading. It's in the select committee phase. You're able to put in some submissions to it. We've got a couple more readings to do. However, you don't need to get all of those professionals to sign it off. You don't need council to sign it off. If you just use these, the workers that are doing the classes of restricted building work, like a licensed building practitioner, a carpenter, the new class, which is the waterproofer, if you're doing tiling and the like. So you're going to have that as a licensed building practitioner, waterproofer, ditto a certifying plumber, a registered electrical worker, etc. They're able to do it, keep the paperwork in place and document it for you.
Look, I gave you this opportunity to look down the camera and basically call him out, and you've just given a serious answer. Like, I wanted something a little bit more. Jerry, you're talking rubbish.
Yeah, but
you're a bit of a hater.
But I wanted to respect Jerry with a really accurate thing because I've been criticised by Jerry for not going deep enough. So I wanted to give him a comprehensive answer and name a few classes there, even if it goes over most people's heads.
Jerry, we love your work. Keep writing. And if the question's as good as that, I'll keep asking them to David.
Right.
We have another question from Fazio.
Fazio's a fan, though.
Yeah, well, we're all fans of yours, David. Interested to know this also as wanting to build as soon as possible. Are they going to change the current setback rules?
There's nothing in the draft legislation, which is the Building and Construction Small Standalone Dwellings Bill in Parliament, that talks about the boundaries, height in relation to boundary changes or setbacks. So that's I don't think that's what they're getting at though. I think Fazio's actually trying to get at, we're going from 30 square metres, which which you can sign off there without getting a building consent, that's going to bump up to 70 square metres. So that's in Schedule 1 of the Building Act 2004. That's where the exemptions are. So this is going to be the exemption thing. We're not going to be able to encroach into the neighbour's land. We're still going to have proper setbacks, and you know, you don't want that, because otherwise it's going to cause undue shading and, you know, interference on your neighbours as well. The Resource Management Act is the bit that controls that, and there's nothing in the RMA that protects a view.
When are they getting rid of that?
The RMA, it's everyone talks about getting rid of it, and it's so slow. It's an absolute mine for political football, and it causes endless debate. They're trying to split it into two. I guess you know, like more of the building and technical bill, and then as in urban environments and planning for that.
Is there
So
votes in
painful
it?
and slow.
Is it there votes in it for the coalition government? Because at the end of the
I
day,
think it's a
David,
perception
that's
that's
where
what
it's
it's
going
about.
to be.
And we've got a delicately poised one. This election coming up next year is, you know, it's in the balance from polls. Some polls, a couple of percent above for the.
Okay, but can you see them changing it before the next election? Is there enough votes in it for the coalition?
I actually don't see them change it. They've talked about doing it, but I don't think they're
talked
going to.
before the election of doing it.
Yep, it's glacial progress. It's disappointing. I would expect it to change, and it hasn't yet.
Okay, Phil Leach, he writes, these rules are going to turn Auckland into a ghetto. Oh, wait, hold my beer. Karen replied,
Karen, yes.
I agree.
Well, Karen and Bill, I don't think that these
Phil.
Phil, sorry about that. I was getting confused with Bill from one of our previous fans as well. So Phil and Karen, I don't think this alone is going to turn Auckland into a ghetto, because we've still got to use cladding that's approved, you know, meets the building code, brands appraisals or code mark. There is potential for having some non-standardised designs. I appreciate that some people may get a bit funky.
There's an argument that Auckland's already a ghetto as well.
Exactly, and I think that's what the hold my beer bits are getting at as well. There are some mismatches in some of the planning and the building things as well. But hey, who are we to deny people and their private property rights to be able to go ahead and build what they want? I think that's within reason if we can do that. Nothing's stopping people painting houses in fluorescent yellow colours. It's just that they get mocked by their friends and family usually. That's the only thing holding it back, but there are some houses.
Yeah, but it's not great for real sale either. Let's face it.
It's not, but that's the own goal though. If you're going to create something that's pretty ugly and cheap and nasty, you tend to get that's the same. You're going to hurt yourself in the foot. You're going to get yourself lower rents and things there. If you're going to put family members in it, is it something that they actually like and want? So there is a little bit of engaging brain and meeting the market there, and that's your own responsibility. I don't know if we need to police that.
Finally, Cam4631 writes, you'll probably still need an array of specialist reports. Geotechnical engineers will possibly need to verify good ground to build on. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at
You could have,
Christchurch.
yeah, absolutely. You could avoid this, just something insurance could reject should you come claim time.
If you've got a code compliance certificate, I'm thinking that's going to be pretty ballsy call from an insurance company there. However, this exempts having the code compliance certificate, but if you're complying with all the rules and you've got all your works signed off and done properly there, I'm not too sure the insurance company's going to do it. Why wouldn't you be disclosing it to them? And then they're going to be able to have that full disclosure to it. They've got the ability to ask questions. They do that now in the technical category 2 and 3 zone properties. In many cases, for example, in Christchurch, they ask you for a geotech or structural engineer's report before they agree to place cover. If they've got a problem with that, I think they do that now. But yeah, Cam's actually right. You probably are going to have to, when you submit that PIM in some of these technical categories of land, perhaps on cliff zones, cliff collapse zones, perhaps in liquefaction zones, I think you probably are going to have to get a geotech report before you do your 70 square metre dwelling.
It's great to have you here because you're so passionate about it, David. You've done it more than probably anyone else in New Zealand. And that's the reason why we got you back to answer these questions. If people have got more questions, this is a very passionate subject. We got a lot of views from the last video. Just where, again, does it stand in Parliament? What's the timeline of this?
Sure. So we've got the first bill that's passed on these granny flats going through the select committees now. Once the select committee's done their process there, it gets put into a second reading with the feedback collated. There might be some minor changes to this. Then there'll be a third reading, and then we'll get it passed. When do I think this is likely to get in? Previously, I thought that it would be just before the end of the year. Now I'm thinking it's more likely to be in February 2026.
What's the one piece of advice before you go that you would give someone looking at this now and thinking to themselves, maybe I can put a cash register on my backyard?
Think about the numbers. Think about, hey, is it better to just mow lawns on the backyard? Is that the best purpose? Or is it better to get something out of it there? In many cases, you might be able to get 2 income streams for the price of 1.5. That's got to be a good thing. However, in some cases, like the question we had previously, sometimes it might be better to actually build a duplex, a triplex, building extra stories on it there. So this is a chance to have a deep think about it. Talk to your mentor that really knows what they're doing to think what is going to be the highest and best use. Talk to a planning consultant or a surveyor or a decent architect to do it.
And you're right. You literally can pick up the phone to a town planner and they will give you free advice if you put in the effort.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to do it. There are many amazing people that work and hard workers at council, and they're good people. Have a chat to them. It's free. It's a free call, part of your rates.
David Whitburn, thank you very much.
Thanks, Craig. It's been an honour and an awe of your interviewing skill over a long time. A little bit intimidated there coming to this interview with you. You've interviewed some of the greats of all time. James Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson, and of course, Justin Vaughan.
Yes, I know. You're very proud of you. The very first time I met you, which is quite funny, I'll tell people this story. You brought up the Justin Vaughan interview.
Because I'm a massive Sir Richard Hadley fan.
It was a good interview, I'm the first to admit, but that's not, like, it probably isn't the top 50 of ones I've ever done. But at the same time, I very much appreciated that.
It was memorable from you because I loved it. I couldn't believe that my hero, my idol, I grew up wanting to be a fast bowler, playing at Cornwall Cricket Club, then moving to Parnell. And I just wanted to be like my idol, Sir Richard. I wanted to bowl fast. I wanted to take out the Aussies like he did and be an absolute champion. And then for him, one of the greatest cricketers of all time, not to be invited to an NZ cricket events there. It was pretty shocking. And then
So do you want to know the backstory to that?
I'd love to know.
So the backstory to that is that I rang Ricky Herbert, who was the coach of the All Whites at the time.
Absolutely.
And he was coming up to Auckland because I'd just been in South Africa with the All Whites. And he was coming up to Auckland because he was presenting the Walter Hadley Trophy. And I said to him, why is Richard Hadley not doing it?
Yeah,
obviously, you know, I thought it was, and he said, I don't know. No, I didn't know Richard Hadley very well at the time. And so I rang Sir Richard and he said to me, not only am I not presenting it, I haven't been invited. And to this day,
yeah,
I think it's one of the biggest faux pas. I think this country is terrible in how it looks after great New Zealand sports people. You look how you go to the MCG, you see how you walk around the MCG and they've got literally people from 100 years of statues. You know, when Shane Warne passed, they named the Great Southern Stand after Shane Warne.
Yes.
And so I know there's a Hadley Stand at Lancaster Park, but this was a gross oversight. So if you're not aware of the interview, Justin Vaughan was the
CEO of
Chief Executive of New Zealand
Cricket.
Cricket. And
former NZ cricket player.
That's right. And New Zealand Cricket wasn't doing very well. And I asked for an interview with him, setting him up for what's the New Zealand Cricket Awards for the New Zealand Cricket Awards tonight, and then I dropped it on him. Why he's not the greatest player of the time?
You're with One News.
Anyhow, the crux of that story was about 2 months later, New Zealand Cricket named the Player of the Year award, the Sir Richard Hadley Medal, and Richard's been there ever since. And I'm pleased that I might have had something to do with that. And every time I've seen Richard or given him a call on anything, he's always helped me out on things. I've seen him a few times afterwards. Lovely man.
Super guy.
Amazing cricketer. We're very lucky to have him. We got off topic there, but if you're watching Sir Richard, we love you.
Thanks, Sir Richard. It's great.
Final warning. Money doesn't wait around. It moves fast. And right now, the people making the biggest moves are right here. This is New Zealand's fastest growing property channel for a reason. So if you don't hit subscribe, just remember somebody else already did. And they're probably closing their next deal while you're still sitting here hesitating. TikTok.